Stories about werewolves go all the way back to about 2100 BCE. It is these stories that often hold a common motif, no matter where it is that we find this very archetypal story of a human being who occasionally becomes, well, something else. We could say something more, becomes wolf, or at least part wolf at that. And that motif is a full moon. Now, sometimes that is every full moon that this transformation happens, and we get a full moon about every 28 and a half days or so. However, there are in certain cases and in certain regions that the stories of werewolves tell us that, well, they only really come out, they only really manifest from within us, from within certain human beings, well, during a lunar eclipse. So what happens when it is a blood moon, total lunar eclipse, visible in much of the world, throughout much of the Americas, East Asia, and Australia? Well, in that case, you get a very potent energy, what I like to call a jacked up full moon kind of energy, where all the feels and all that it is that is within us is likely to come right to the surface, however we might judge it. And normally when we think about things coming right to the surface, we think, oh my God, that's going to be really bad. Oh, I don't want to know. I don't want to see it. And we're really afraid of what we might see in others. And yet there are times when the truth is actually seeing a deeper wisdom, seeing a deeper beauty, as is the case now. We have a blood total lunar eclipse taking place this week on the 3rd of March. And when it is that this eclipse takes place, it is going to be speaking in harmony with Jupiter, and it is in the sign of Virgo. Now, Virgo is the sign that I like to call the sign of the proof is in the pudding. That's what it represents. It represents the details. It represents the actuality. It's like we can't lie to ourselves when the evidence is showing us clearly what it actually is. What person, place, thing, situation, what is the essential nature? What is the real truth? It is the actions that give it away. It is the details that are especially revealing. But in this case, that Jupiterian energy says that what we see now, it isn't just about the truth. It's also about the wisdom that we glean. Now, sometimes that wisdom is one that is hard earned, but at other moments, at other times, it is a truth now that is illuminating to the best parts of us, where we're able to see ourselves with greater insight, with greater understanding, what actually is, what is at the root, the depth of emotion, of feeling, of vulnerability, and of naivety that can be there as well. Remember, Virgo is the sign of the Virgin, and what that means is of newness, the maiden, the freshness and the fresh approach and the fresh eyes it takes to really embrace life before it is that life has us feeling daunted. It is the innocence that allows us to enjoy the small moments that much more. And so now here we are, a powerful total blood lunar eclipse set to take place. And it is one that is going to show us something about the best of ourselves. Where it is that we've judged ourselves, we might see the wisdom to all of our actions. And where it is perhaps we've accepted certain people, places, things, situations, we now are admitting the truth that might have been staring at us this whole time. But the difference now is not only are we willing to see it, are we able to see it, but we're also able to allow healthy change to occur, prioritizing a sense of self-worth, prioritizing a sense of self-rootedness, knowing that we can be at home within ourselves, allows us to then appreciate that other people, they're going to find home in their own ways and in the ways that they need to. And with love and light, we can go through change. We can become something more. Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of March 1st, 2026. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. Learn from living legends, big dogs, and superstar astrologers only at synchronicityuniversity.com. Classes starting this week, links below. A lot of us out there, including myself, like to work with, well, celestial energies, right? And sometimes that is something we would call magic or astrological magic. One of my books, Prayers to the Skies, actually like astrological magic light. It's a very introductory look at ultimately how I like to work with these energies to understand how they are connected to us as individuals, but also as part of the collective as well. But there is a wisdom that says eclipse energies are not the kinds that you necessarily want to work with very actively. It's not necessarily a time to tell the universe exactly what it is that you want and to be really specific or to really specify. It tends to be a very powerful time to be open to a higher wisdom because that is part of what eclipses represent. 2 weeks ago, we had a very powerful, very erratic solar eclipse in the sign of Aquarius. I spoke to you about it at that time. That eclipse was speaking in a conversation of tension with Uranus, and that spoke so powerfully to really like not working very actively with eclipse energy, because whatever you think it's going to be, whatever practice, whatever intention you're putting out there, things could really go in all kinds of directions. And ultimately, I'd like to think it all is for the higher good of all concerned. But yeah, it's kind of like working with this solar eclipse that we had 2 weeks ago. You know that whole story about the monkey's paw, right? It's a very crude example, but there's this other common motif that we see of someone who finds something and it grants them three wishes and they wish for something, but it always comes with like really awful strings or other specifications that they really wish were different. And then they end up like wanting to reverse the whole thing. And it ultimately is part of this larger wisdom that says, be careful what you wish for, right? Like you wish for a whole lot of money and it's because somebody that you really love that you don't want to be without is actually priceless to you. They pass away, then you get that money. That kind of example we see in this story that comes up again and again. That's kind of what can happen with eclipses. Now, it doesn't have to be that dire. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes it can be wacky and it can be adventurous and it can be amusing as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be that it's that dire or that scary. But yeah, the energy we had like 2 weeks ago, that solar eclipse squaring Uranus, it really was about the thing that we did not see all of a sudden being right there. The thing is, though, it is often eclipse activations that are more powerful. When we have important celestial energy moving over, moving around, activating that exact point in the zodiac, that events reveal themselves that much more fully. Kind of like when you think about what an eclipse actually is. An eclipse hides the light and then reveals the light. And even though the light was there all along, now we see it in a whole other way. And that's part of how it is now with this lunar eclipse this week. But there is a big difference. This week's lunar eclipse is going to be speaking in harmony with Jupiter. Jupiter is not only in the sign of Cancer, but it is at its exaltation degree. What does that mean? It means that the ancients believed that every planet really liked being in certain signs more than others. And they even thought that certain planets really didn't like being in certain signs at all. But even within that sign that it really liked to be in, there'd be 1 degree within it. So there's 360 degrees that make a circle. That is all the degrees of the zodiac. There are 12 zodiac signs, 30 degrees per sign. And out of all the 360, it is the 12 signs Cancer, Jupiter most likes to be in. Of all the degrees of the 360, it is the 15th degree of Cancer that Jupiter most likes to be in. And that's where Jupiter is just about this whole month, standing still. And next week we'll go direct. I'll be here to talk about it every step of the way. But what that means is Jupiter right now is at the height of his power, closer to the earth than it might otherwise be, but heightened in its symbolism as well. And Jupiter is about what's more. It is about what can be made bigger and better. It is about what we might understand the deeper wisdom to be and what it is that might otherwise look extravagant or what we might miss. And so having that energy speak in harmony with this lunar eclipse means that we are likely to see things differently, but ultimately in a way that empowers us to cultivate the wisdom, to cultivate what it is that could be good about whatever's transpiring here. But when is it going to actually be that much more evident? Well, think about the recent eclipse we had. I remember telling you last week, we are going to have the activation of the eclipse point. We were going to have that. And that is Mars moving over the 28th degree of the zodiac. I actually created a short which included this as well, talking about how karmic, how powerful the last days of last week were set to be with all of these nodal activations taking place. And we saw some of that this week, right? We saw really big world events, and a lot of us feel kind of shaken and wondering where our power is within it. All very Mars activating eclipse points kind of energy. Mars squared Uranus as well, just like the eclipse did. And so we've seen, it looks like the collective on the world stage, it feels erratic right now. This year's Virgo season is going to begin on the 22nd of August of 2026. And Mercury and Venus are never more than 2 signs away from the sun. So when that season starts, when Virgo season starts, we're going to have Venus and Mercury right around there, right about the same time. And what that likely means is that the really important activations that are set to take place to the eclipse point of this week, well, we're going to have to wait a little bit to get there. We will get there eventually. But the fact that some of the more potent, powerful activations of the eclipse point of a couple of weeks ago, well, that most potent activation of Mars, that's part of what's happening and has happened as of late. However, it is going to be a little while before we're able to really see any kind of positive understanding of change, of allowing a sense of what needs to come to a healthy close, what needs to begin again, what the details actually are, and how they change things. That's how long it might take us as a collective to really understand what the pudding actually consists of. So, not necessarily the easiest thing to look forward to, what deeper truths might come out. But what I will say is by the time deeper truths are revealed, by then we'll be able to see what's good as well. We'll be able to see what was changing, what was healing under the surface when we didn't realize it, as is the case now. Now, some people are, in addition to having a sense, having a feeling, having a sense of progress once we have those eclipse activations in the later part of the fall, in addition to feeling all of that, are going to feel the energy now. And there might be world events that start to transpire now as well. But ultimately, it is going to be rooted in a sense of hope and a sense of security. Remember, it is Jupiter right now that is in the sign of Cancer. This brings with it a larger trend where more people are looking at things like safety, security, country, patriotism, protection. About world events right now, let me say that I don't think the current circumstances, situations are likely to continue for long. And I say that because the energies are changing so quickly. Ultimately, Virgo, the eclipse that's happening this week, is in a mutable sign. We have some really strong energies playing out in the sign of Pisces. We've got a party going on in the sign of Pisces, another mutable sign. And all of these energies represent a change of seasons. And that's one part of it. But the other part of it is what has been part of what's gotten everything going right about now with all this chaotic energy came down to the fact that we had an eclipse in Aquarius at an anaretic degree. We had activations from Mars to that very degree of the eclipse, again, in a later degree. These represent conclusions, culminations. But the energies are changing so quickly right now. it is going to be on Monday that Mars is going to move into the sign of Pisces. Now, the approach to something like war, I will just say it, be very blunt with it, war is often attributed to whatever's happening with Mars. And that's why we see these sort of aggressive actions on a world stage whenever it is that Mars is having rare conversations, rare activations, especially those that are of the more aggressive kind. And that's part of what we've been seeing as of late. But here's the thing, it is Mars that is going to change signs this Monday, leaving the sign of Aquarius, which is a fixed sign holding tight an energy, and moving into the sign of Pisces. And Pisces is mutable. It represents things changing. And in particular, as the last sign of the zodiac, it represents culminations and conclusions in and of itself. But here's the thing, we've got a party going on in the sign of Pisces. And one of the most promising symbols we have right now in the sign of Pisces is the fact that in the middle of the week, on Thursday, we will have a beautiful alignment between the Sun and Jupiter. Now, normally as astrologers, we sometimes say that when the Sun meets Jupiter in the sky, that is sometimes called the luckiest day of the year. But if that's true, then it is the Sun trine Jupiter that is a very close second. Jupiter, as I said, in the sign of Cancer, having to do with security and the foundations that we seek, those very base and patriotic identities that we hold. And then we get this beautiful trine from the Sun and Jupiter, one of the more fortunate celestial connections to take place. And to me, this represents fortunate conclusions, culminations. Now, the larger implications, that's something I'll talk about in just a moment, but and in surprising ways, I think that has been showing up for us. But at least for now, and at least what we're seeing in this moment is the promise of a conclusion taking place that my hope is limits some of the more painful aspects of what is taking place right now, the more destructive aspects of what is taking place right now. And even in the midst of destruction, we don't always know how whatever might be happening is part of the collective moving towards what I like to call greater love and greater wisdom. But I could also say greater awareness, greater consciousness. Now, here's something else to consider. It is going to be very soon. I mean, we're already in the midst of it. These huge energies are changing. Very recently, we had Neptune and Saturn both moving into the sign of Aries. There's this wonderful astrologer that I follow on Instagram called Pop Astrologist. And she was talking about how Saturn in Aries, Neptune in Aries, this is the sign of the preemptive strike, which means like going first, basically, is how she put it. Just very eloquently described some of the energies of this moment. At the same time, let me say that we've already got big planets changing. One of the final really big planets to change is going to be Uranus next month. We are in the last few weeks of Uranus in the sign of Taurus. Once Uranus moves into the sign of Gemini, there's a very different way of understanding how to surprise, how to be erratic, how to reach the masses very quickly. And the approach is going to change from the practical and the financial, which is what we've seen with Uranus in Taurus since 2018. What we're going to see instead is communication, modes of communication, messaging, propaganda as well. These are the ways in which that people can be surprised and people can be changed very quickly. These are the ways in which electric impulses can go out across the world, and it feels like a whole lot changes in an instant. Now, once that happens, the outer planets have all shifted gears, the shift that I've been talking about for a lot of years here, I know. Now, here's something else to consider. At the end of July is when we are going to have Jupiter change signs. Jupiter will leave the sign of Cancer, move into the sign of Leo, and start to activate a lot of these placements in that larger configuration I've been talking to you about, the near Star of David configuration. And this is a larger configuration with tension, right? And oppositions are playing out here. So it's as if there are different sides on opposite ends, but there's also a lot of harmony. There's a lot of power as well. And our focus is going to shift. And our understanding of who has the power, who are the kings, who is the royalty, who are the celebrities, it's all going to go through a big shift. And it's already underway with Pluto in Aquarius, but it's going to accelerate that much more and be that much more obvious by the time we get into the summer. With all these huge energies changing gear, right now, yes, in the immediacy with all of this Piscean energy I've been talking about, but also in a larger sense, in the weeks ahead, it does suggest to me that the things that are taking place now, the destructive, painful things that people are going through as collectives around the world right now, my hope is that all of this means that this is a time that is transitory. This is a time that can find its more immediate healing sooner and its larger healing in the greater consequence. At the same time, let me say what you think is good, because this is a very lucky energy of Sun, Trine, Jupiter. I understand that there are different people who think what's good, it can be very different, who think what's a positive development can be very different. I understand that. But I'd like to think that at the very least, this energy could mean consensus, it could mean peace, it could mean compassion. And that is really my highest hope here, because that is the higher understanding of Piscean energy. It is an energy that is deeply compassionate. Now, that is part of the energy that has been activating as of late and is going to accelerate in its activations very soon. Later this month, we are going to have Mars on the Piscean North Node, and we are going to have Mercury stationed direct, hanging out right on top of that Pisces North Node. I'm getting comfortable over here. Okay, that is going to transpire on the 20th of March and the days surrounding it. It is going to be Mercury that just gets there and hangs out. And I feel like the greater details, the stuff we're not seeing right now, what's really going on, it is going to be revealed at that time. Certain documents might come to light, certain conversations, evidence, if you will, that documents what right now looks like something very spontaneous. And my hope is that that fuels a sense of compassion. And I think it's compassion that we have been aching for now. I want you to consider this as well. And again, I've created a short about this here on my YouTube channel, over on my other social media platforms like TikTok, like Instagram Reels. But Punch the monkey, right? This story has captivated a lot of people, myself included. It's captivated me. It is a very beautiful, sensitive story about a baby monkey trying to find solace, trying to find a sense of comfort, feeling alone in the world, finding community. All of this ends up being expressed in this very tender story of an abandoned baby monkey. Here's the thing. All of this awareness around Punch, the whole world becoming aware and captivated by and wanting good things to happen to Punch, this all came about with Venus conjunct the Pisces North Node. So it's our hearts that are on the sleeve, our collective hearts, our compassionate heart. We're seeing ourselves, right? Empathy is on high. We are seeing ourselves all those times that we have felt abandoned, all those times that we have sought others, sought communities, sought a feeling of safety. But one thing, the deeper thing that I hope this lunar eclipse helps us to get in touch with, and that is the fact that we can get lost in a sea of emotion. There are lots and lots of videos online of people crying about this, and it is deeply emotional. I am a very compassionate person. I feel it as well. The Virgo energy is about understanding how we got here. Again, looking at the details, looking at the reality of the situation, and looking at health and health care, and looking at the well-being of these monkeys, right? There's a phenomenon called zoochosis, and it's kind of how it sounds. Animals in captivity, like animals in a concrete enclave that is completely unnatural to them, they will experience psychosis. And this is part of what led to Punch's mom being as much a victim as Punch. Punch's mom is vulnerable here, right? We need to have as much compassion for Punch's mom, who abandoned him, because we don't really see that happen in nature or even in sanctuaries. But it has occasionally been documented in zoos. That's the evidence I've been coming across, the information that I've been coming across. But of course, I could be wrong. But to me, it kind of makes sense that when you are in a setting that doesn't even try to mimic nature, something very unnatural comes out of us. And this is a phenomenon that has been studied in animals and studied in humans. Think about big cities, all of the studies that have been done about people who live in big cities. I am thinking about Max Weber, who is the godfather of sociology, who talked about the iron cage of postmodernism. And it's this idea that in our industrialized world, we live in closer proximity to each other than ever before, but we feel more isolated from each other than ever before. We live in these very private little enclaves of our own, our little apartments, our little units. But how connected do we feel to community? Well, of course, some people do better with that than others. We can liken this to what Charles Taylor called the malaise of modernity, and how in our modern world, while he didn't call it the iron cage of postmodernism, he did talk about how we end up being disconnected from ourselves in the modern world. And it is the animals who are the most instinctual among us, who are the most innocent among us, who show us what's going on within us, sometimes a lot sooner before we are even aware of it, because they're picking up on things energetically. And they don't have the filter that we might have. They don't have the ways in which we rationalize away what is the truth of what we feel. It is a Virgo lunar eclipse that is showing us something about how we actually live. And Virgo is the sign of pets. And I think a lot of us are seeing little Punch as a pet, mainly because of his size, because he's so small. But my hope is that, of course, we don't forget that this is not meant to be a pet. He has his own journey among his own community, and how paying attention to that and how healing that and figuring out what's really going on so that this doesn't happen to another Punch, how that actually heals us, and how it is that maybe we are needing something that we are not getting, and Punch is showing us that very thing. A lot of us in our own lives, again, the iron cage of postmodernism that we live in, bless us, we are very adaptable as a human species, but we too have these stuffed animals. They might be something different, completely different. They might be certain habits, certain rituals, certain programs, certain ways, certain things, right? The things that bring us comfort. And we might dismiss that as materialism or status symbols and things. But, for some people, this is their symbolic stuffed animal. Basically, the thing that they need to say, I am worthy, I am safe, I'm going to be secure. And that's part of the ways in which the psychology adapts among all of us. And I do think that it's easy to judge certain people for the stuffed animals that they carry around, the metaphorical stuffed animals. But moments like this, cultural moments, like what we see now with Punch, it might be a real opportunity for us to look at ourselves and see what our own stuffed animals actually are, and to decide what the real need is and how it is and where it is that we might be able to meet that need. It starts with acknowledging the sadness, the loss around not having that root need met. And that is so much of the opportunity here. Please understand the energy, especially in the middle of the week, is so promising. The eclipse is so promising. There are really positive energies at play, energies of love and wisdom and understanding what the higher calling is, understanding how we can raise our vibration, how we can meet this moment so that we collectively become something more, so that we see ourselves individually and collectively as more. But it is up to us to take up that call. And my hope is that more of us will do just that. Venus is super active this week as well on Wednesday, speaking in harmony with Uranus, and then on Friday, changing signs, moving into the sign of Aries, and at the end of the week, meeting Neptune in the sky. That energy of Venus and Uranus, I think that is setting the stage for Sun, Jupiter. Both Venus and the Sun at that point are in the sign of Pisces. Uranus sextiles are delightful surprises that invite us to take up some opportunity. We see how there's a stroke of some good fortune that could arise if we choose to utilize the moment and run with it. So I'm really excited about this. Of course, Venus is love. Venus is in the sign of Pisces, and connecting that much more with Uranus could just bring with it an opening of hearts, or at least the opportunity to do so, followed up by that Sun, Jupiter trine. It can strengthen the energies all around. Friday's move of Venus into Aries. What's interesting with this is that first, Venus is going to meet Neptune at the end of this week, but it will be in the early part of next week that Venus will meet Saturn. And this becomes an important energy, an energy that we're going to see repeated in the weeks ahead. And it's a bit of a roller coaster unless we approach it consciously. Venus meeting Neptune is super dreamy. It is sometimes considered extremely romantic, and it can be, but it is really a fantastical energy. It's about being very swept up in a moment, swept up off our feet. That can be very lovely, right? We can feel an energy of healing with this, but this can also be very lost in fantasy or fear in some occasions. The thing is, though, once we get into next weekend, Venus meets Saturn, the energy changes so dramatically. It is as if in one moment we are in the clouds, and in the next moment, like a thud, we are brought to earth. And as high as you go is as low as you go. And that is going to be a theme that we see as planets move into the sign of Aries one at a time. And right now it starts with Venus. Be mindful of this. I would also invite you to be a little bit careful with Venus meeting Neptune in Aries, no less, with things like substances, alcohol, these types of things. We might go way overboard, way too far with them. So that's why. And, if you know that that's what you like, make sure you've got your parameters there so you feel good about it. But just know that, we might end up going way overboard. And then the next day, we're like, oh boy, what did I do, say, act like? That's going to be a big part of this Aries energy. I will say this. I remember years and years ago when I first decided I wasn't going to drink anymore. It wasn't my thing. This is so many years ago now. And I remember going out with friends, and everybody was drinking and I wasn't. And I remember starting to feel kind of drunk. And I remember realizing that, you know what, this is like a radio station. It's like tuning in to a particular radio station. And I could tune in anytime I wanted. I didn't need the alcohol. But what was wild was that the next day I felt hungover. The next day I was like, oh my God, what did I do? What did I say? How could I, whatever? And I realized then that it isn't just the substance, right? It is the vibration. It is the energy. It's as high as you go, is as low as you go, especially when it is that you're meant to come back to the middle, to a more balanced place within yourself. And so, yes, if you know that you like to go high, however you might do it, changing that radio station, whatever gets you to do it, just know that the low could be very strong with this. However, there is a way for us to use this energy to our advantage. And that really is my hope, that we start practicing this now, because as we go forward, it is going to be in 3 weeks' time that the sun is going to do the same thing, move into Aries, meet Neptune, and then go on to meet Saturn. And then once we go forward from there in April, Mercury is going to do it, and then Mars is going to do it as well. So we've got a journey ahead with this, but these can be energies that are like a roller coaster. It's a good idea to look right now at the dreams and how to manifest the dreams, to find a way to have them merge. That's a way that not only do we bring ourselves into a more balanced place, but also we use this energy well. We use it to manifest something that feels more ideal, more beautiful. Ultimately, it is Neptune that can be about spiritual meaning, about feeling plugged into source, but finding ourselves, not losing ourselves in the process. And that's part of what I think is going to be the invitation now. And as much as we allow ourselves to be carried away so that we do essentially lose ourselves, is as hard as it's going to feel coming back to ourselves. And yet, that's part of what we might need to do so that we can then get to the place of understanding that we can make life more ideal in very real ways. If we're willing to, on the one hand, do the work, it is Saturn after all, but it's also about understanding that sometimes dreams are there to carry us away, but sometimes dreams are there for a reason. And the reason is to bring hope, to bring healing, so that we might align with something more, a life more in alignment with an embodiment of those things that at one time were just a dream and can become real. What I love about this week for us, there's so much here. It's a powerful and meaningful astrological moment. Well, I am going to say the lunar eclipse. Of course, that is a huge energy. It is such an important energy. You know, I was saying in the monthly horoscopes for the Virgos in particular, this just might be one of the most important moments for Virgos, not just of this year, but of this decade. It is that significant an energy. It is a total lunar eclipse, a blood moon eclipse. Many of us around the planet are going to watch the moon turn red, go away, and come back. And it is a very powerful experience. It is part of the wonder of living in this incredible world. But also remember, this is an energy of the type of truth that inspires, the type of realities that help us to cultivate wisdom. And where it is that perhaps we might need to do that, and we don't even realize we need to do that, if we can set that intention to have this lunar eclipse show us what that healing looks like for us, we just might be presented with really practical tools to align with a more ideal set of circumstances that acknowledges the small lived realities of our days, of our existence, but at the same time infuses it with greater love and greater wisdom as well. Well, thank you so much for watching. What do you love about this week? Let me know in the comments below. I love reading you guys. And to prove it to you, here are some of my most recent favorite comments. Thank you to everybody who likes, who comments, who subscribes, who shares, who thumbs up. All of it means so much. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you. And of course, if you want to know how all this wonderful stuff this week speaks to you in your sign, log on to NadiyaShahSuperstars.com, where you get expanded exclusive video scopes each and every week for as low as just $3 a month. With choose your membership rate, higher tiers get you things like all access passes to Synchronicity University events, consultations with me, and so much more. All of this in the superstar space at NadiyaShahSuperstars.com. Links are in the description below. Synchronicity University is proud to present Big Dogs, Living Legends, and Superstar Astrologers only at synchronicityuniversity.com. You can sign up right now, even though as we begin this week, technically the promotional period of as low as just $5 a class is over. You still might be able to get in there if you sign up at the very beginning of this week before the website changes that sign. We do continue to honor that as soon as that does change, though. You will pay the regular rate, which you're still very welcome to do so, which is usually $35 a class. So regardless, I hope you'll join us because look, we've got such big astrologers. So I'm going to start with me actually. So let me start with me because I've got two programs I'm going to be presenting. One is Past Lives in the Astrology Chart, Part 4. Here we are, Part 4 of 6 parts. And Part 4 is going to be looking at a few different things. Neptune transits is part of what we're going to look at. We're going to look at more on the 4th house, more on the 8th house in a past life context. So that'll be a lot of fun. If you didn't get to take the first programs I offered here, you can also get in there with that add-on promotional rate of as low as just $5 a class. So I hope that you will join me. It's such a wonderful experience teaching this class. And I know how many of you absolutely love looking at the chart from a past life context. I look forward to seeing you in class. You are legend, living the myth of your sign. It's the very first time I've taught this material. We are going to be looking at and exploring the myths behind each and every sign. This is a workshop series, and we are going to start with the fire signs, Aries, then Leo, then Sagittarius. Each sign is going to get one class. I hope that you will join us because, like I said, brand new material. And even though we focus on sun signs, it really is about understanding the energy of the sign itself. It can make your interpretations of any planetary placement that much richer, that much more meaningful when you understand how it is that every planet in your chart is living a myth. But it is the sun that speaks to whom it is that you are becoming in this lifetime and who it is you are when you really like yourself, like when you feel like you're shining bright, that you are radiating something forward that helps you feel like you are at your very best. And so we are going to focus on that as well. But yes, brand new mythologies to understand the core energies of the signs. And I'm really looking forward to exploring them with you over the course of this workshop series. You can sign up now at synchronicityuniversity.com. Big dog Gemini Brett. We are so fortunate to have Gemini Brett joining us at Synchronicity University once again. He truly is one of the brightest stars in astrology today, and he is coming with sacred geometry. I feel so blessed to be working with him. He's one of our most popular teachers at the school, and he is going to be helping us to understand these sacred geometry shapes and how that connects to aspects as well. And this is going to deepen your practice, but really taking classes with him is like going on a meditative journey. You come out of each class feeling more closer to the sky, more closer to the spirit and the soul of the sky as well. It is such a powerful window that you want to tap into. And I just love this energy so much of the energy he brings, the energy of helping you to see the sacred in the sky. And, you know, he's so popular. He's got such a base, and there's a good reason for that. It's because he's a really big dog, because he really knows his stuff, because he is an exquisite teacher. I kid you not. So I know some of you have taken classes with him before at the school. You can comment below. Tell us how amazing Gemini Brett is as a teacher. And you can still get in there to take this class on sacred geometry starting this week, only at synchronicityuniversity.com. And you can also, as add-ons right now, get his past programs as well. Links below. Synchronicity University is proud to present an exceptional speaker series. Here we are. This is incredible. Look at this amazing group of people. I'm so excited about this. I am just so grateful to have the trust of such big dogs and even a living legend himself. The one and only Stephen Forrest is part of the March speaker series at Synchronicity University. Stephen Forrest is so special. He is one of our living legends for very good reason. He is prolific. He has written 17 books so far, and he is considered one of the great pioneers of evolutionary astrology. He has an incredible story, and I've interviewed him a few times over the years, and you can find those interviews here on my YouTube channel, and you can see how he's always been connected to an understanding of the growth and the need and the reason and the philosophy of evolutionary astrology. So yeah, it is a whole system of astrology that he helped to found. And he really helped to make a huge force in modern astrology today. What a privilege to have him teach. And he is going to be looking at how your chart began before you were even born. That sky existed for you before you entered into this incarnation. So he is going to get philosophical, but also help you to understand the astrology chart with greater depth. And he's going to be teaching live. Like, we had a class with him before, but it was a watch party of a class that he already taught and recorded. And then we watched it together, and it was a lot of fun. And you can get that as an add-on. But this is going to be live in person. You are going to share space, the rare opportunity to share space with the one and only Stephen Forrest. Big dog, tarot legend, the one and only Melissa Sinova. What a privilege to get to work with Melissa again, the author of legendary books in the Kitchen Table series, including Kitchen Table Tarot and Kitchen Table Magic. And she is going to be teaching a magic class, understanding magic for hard times. And so she is somebody who is so resilient. She is so brilliant. And she was talking to me in the interview I did with her that's here on my YouTube channel about making her way through a really hard time, and how by doing so, she utilized magic to help her in that. And that's what she's going to help you to understand, utilizing these magical tools so that you too can guide yourself or others to move through challenging times in life, which is a part of life, right? These challenging times, they, I believe, are part of making us something more and something better than we were before. And she's going to help you to bring a magical perspective to that. What great fortune. Look at that. A living legend and a huge dog in the same speaker series. You don't want to miss that. Check out these other incredible superstars, because I know you know these people as well, because you've seen them on my channel before, and they are such brilliant astrologers. I think that they should be getting so many more followers than they have, so much more attention than they have so far. But I have absolutely no doubt that these people are just so special and shining so bright and growing more and more. They will one day be considered legends. Write it down. I said it right here. These other three, as part of the speaker series, will one day be considered legends, are living legends in astrology. I'm going to start with Hannah Tanajura. I love her. She's so brilliant. I've taught with her before in person and online. And she brings such an incredible perspective. And she's going to be teaching on Jupiter in Leo. Isn't that wonderful? Like, I don't know about you, but I'm about ready for Jupiter in Leo over here. And so she's going to help us to understand that energy for the collective and for you as well. It is going to be Alejandro Ruiz. I love Alejandro. He is so brilliant, and he is an expert in traditional and Islamic astrology, and he's going to help us to understand the lots, some of the lots here, the lots of victory and the lots of nemesis. And he spoke about the lot of nemesis in the interview that I did with him as well. You can see he really knows his stuff. So he brings that traditional astrology perspective. The last time he taught with us, afterwards, I can't tell you, so many students were reaching out and saying, can we please get a course with Alex? And so I'm super excited that we're going to get another class with him, and you will see how brilliant he is. And I look forward to the day when he'll come back and actually teach a course with us. And I hope that that's sooner rather than later. And finally, the one and only Jill from Nui Astrology. She has been on my channel so much. She fills in for me when I need her as well. So I love her for that. I love how she's so centered in love, in wisdom, and she really is shining so bright in astrology today. I love her astrology. Again, you've seen her on my channel so much, so I know there's lots of friends and fans that she has out there, not through my channel alone, but through her platforms as well. So come join her as well for her class. So you can see here, we've got these incredible teachers who are joining us for the March speaker series, only at synchronicityuniversity.com. Learn more, sign up now, links below. And a quick note, a very limited number of consultations are now available with me and Andy of Wise Ass Astrology over on my website, nadiyashah.com/consultations. You can find that link below and you can go there. It's a very automated process now. You choose the time you want. You fill out a form, you pay, and you will automatically be sent a link for your appointment time as you determine it. So whether it's with me or with Andy, the great thing with Andy is he does do choose your consultation rate. So you can organize that with him through my website as well. And yes, I know what a privilege it is for me, how much I've absolutely loved sitting in consultation with so many of you out there. And I know Andy feels the same as well. So there's a very small number of consultations left for March and for April right now with me and with Andy over on my website, nadiyashah.com, links below. And thank you. Thank you so much for this moment with you. Thank you for your trust. I'm all laid back here this week. I wanted you to see the moon. I wanted to harness the energy of the moon, but also I felt like laying back a little bit today. So I'm glad that I did, but you could tell it was hard for me sometimes, right? Because I was going in like this, because that's like sort of my style. And then I have Mars in Gemini, so I talk with my hands a lot. That's the truth as well. And yeah, what an exciting time it is, right? For the collective individually. And I really hope that, I know, like statistically, we know that we now live in a world with greater peace and prosperity and equality for more people than ever before in human history, a greater percentage of people than ever before in human history. And even though we still have a long way to go, my hope is that we continue to move in that direction. And I, feel things in my heart, my connection to the world, to human beings, to animals, to what a privilege it is to be alive and to have empathy and to feel the energies of others. It is a sensitivity that I think a lot of us share in this community. And my hope is that, as part of the larger trajectory, as part of the wisdom, we keep moving in that direction. Greater equality, greater peace, and greater prosperity for more people than ever before. That is my hope, my wish, my prayer, my meditation, my intention that I put out into the world now. And I hope that you will join me in that as well. And of course, Baby Punch. Baby Punch has been very much on my mind, and I know on the minds of others as well. And my hope is that we can create a set of circumstances so that there are less baby punches, right? We have circumstances like that arise less because we actually care about these beings. And we care about Punch as much as we care about the other babies. We care about Punch as much as we care about his mom, who's also a rape victim in this. And yeah, so lots of things are on my heart right now. And what a privilege to get to share them with you here. Thank you. Thank you again for watching. Stay tuned now for short horoscopes coming up right now. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you. It'll be a great week. Enjoy. We have a blood total lunar eclipse taking place this week on the 3rd of March. And when it is that this eclipse takes place, it is going to be speaking in harmony with Jupiter, and it is in the sign of Virgo. Now, Virgo is the sign that I like to call the sign of the proof is in the pudding. That's what it represents. It represents the details. It represents the actuality. It's like we can't lie to ourselves when the evidence is showing us clearly what it actually is. What person, place, thing, situation, what is the essential nature? What is the real truth? It is the actions that give it away. It is the details that are especially revealing. But in this case, that Jupiterian energy says that what we see now, it isn't just about the truth. It's also about the wisdom that we glean. Now, sometimes that wisdom is one that is hard earned, but at other moments, at other times, it is a truth now that is illuminating to the best parts of us, where we're able to see ourselves with greater insight, with greater understanding, what actually is, what is at the root, the depth of emotion, of feeling, of vulnerability, and of naivety that can be there as well. Remember, Virgo is the sign of the Virgin. And what that means is of newness, the maiden, the freshness and the fresh approach and the fresh eyes it takes to really embrace life before it is that life has us feeling daunted. It is the innocence that allows us to enjoy the small moments that much more. And so now here we are, a powerful total blood lunar eclipse set to take place. And it is one that is going to show us something about the best of ourselves. Where it is that we've judged ourselves, we might see the wisdom to all of our actions. And where it is perhaps we've accepted certain people, places, things, situations, we now are admitting the truth that might have been staring at us this whole time. But the difference now is not only are we willing to see it, are we able to see it, but we're also able to allow healthy change to occur, prioritizing a sense of self-worth, prioritizing a sense of self-rootedness, knowing that we can be at home within ourselves, allows us to then appreciate that other people, they're going to find home in their own ways and in the ways that they need to. And with love and light, we can go through change. We can become something more. Now, how this lunar eclipse speaks to you and your sign depends on your sun, moon, and rising. Take all three into consideration. Synthesize the information to make it unique to you. And there's lots more horoscopes available right now, including an expanded look at this lunar eclipse for your sign over on my YouTube channel, Nadiya_Shah, and in the superstar space at thefutureismagical.com or NadiyaShahSuperstars.com. Aries, clients, customers, coworkers, immediate supervisors, and the actual tasks you do, your work environment. This energy can show up in that regard in terms of changes there, people leaving. At the same time, though, whatever happens, it's like you are able to land on top. It ends up being to your advantage. Outside of that, whether or not you are on the work track, this can also play out in terms of your habits, including your health-related habits. And there could be very good news on the health front, including leaving behind a health challenge and feeling even better going forward from here. Taurus, flirtation, romance, and what the heart is truly wanting. Wow, talk about a flirtation that feels like it changes your life. Yeah, that's part of what might happen for some Taurians out there. At the same time, this part of the sky has to do with what you are really wanting, what makes you happy, what brings you joy, understanding it differently, more deeply, and how it is that that helps you to then carry forward a depth of appreciation of how to live from a place of heart that much more. Creative fulfillment is covered here, as well as are the children in your life. There could be very good news on that front. Gemini, home, the past, your living situation, your family of origin, and your parents in particular, where that applies. There could be positive developments, good news on those fronts. And this can also be a challenging situation that you put behind you at this time, or one of your parents is able to put behind them, and you feel really happy and grateful as a result. If it is that you are trying to change your residence, just keep in mind that we do have a Mercury retrograde right about now. So pace yourself as you navigate this time. But some of the best opportunities to do just that, whether it is to change where you live or to just make adjustments to help it feel more like home, well, they might come about very quickly, unfortunately now. Cancer, siblings, cousins, neighbors, communication of all kinds. If you are in a profession that has to do with speaking, writing, or teaching, there can be some really great luck and positive developments on those fronts. At the same time, though, your relationship with these types of people I just mentioned either could improve, they could facilitate blessings for you, or it might be that there's great news happening in their lives at this time. And even though it doesn't necessarily affect you very directly, you still feel really happy for them. Now, part of that might mean that they need to exit your life or move away or be away in some place, but ultimately, you feel really happy about the positive things taking place in their life now. Leo, money you earn, money you spend, self-love, self-esteem is covered here as well. And this energy is remarkable in how it helps you to understand that much more fully what it is that is worth doing for money, what isn't worth doing for money. Ultimately, these energies are of prosperity, but it might involve one source of income ending so that something better can actually come in, which it very likely will. At the same time, this can be energy of you feeling like you're able to acquire something that matters to you. Healthy self-love, healthy self-esteem. It can also be a huge leap forward where you're putting something behind you that used to feel like it got in the way of healthy self-love, now it no longer does. Something within you transforms for the better in a way that sticks with you for a long time to come. Virgo, identity, who you know yourself to be, what matters to you most and what matters to you first. This is an incredibly important energy for the Virgos. It just might be one of the most important times, not only of the year, but of the decade. I mean, I spoke about this energy in the year ahead horoscope that you can get on my website. But even aside from that, it is this energy now that could redefine you in dramatic ways, but ultimately ways that feel positive and are marked by a chapter ending. For some, that's going to mean letting go of a relationship, of a job situation, of a career path. The thing is, it's not about the thing. It's not about the person. It's about you, your own identity going through a shift. Regardless, though, there's just so much hope with you now. There's such a sense of the possible of putting something that no longer serves you behind you so that you can live that much more fully and so that you can truly be you, a version that feels more vital, more alive, and happier than before. Libra, soul, psyche, spirit. Some of the best stuff is just going to show up seemingly out of nowhere and will feel like a surprise of sorts, but will also feel very right in some way. Messages coming through your dreams are likely to be there. This is about closing karmic ties and ending karmic chapters. Think about all those times when something ended, and as a result, you were able to live more fully. You were able to do more of what you really wanted to do. You were able to be more of yourself than ever before. That's the kind of energy we have here. So stay open to whatever it is that needs to exit now. I am telling you, it isn't just that it's for the best. It really is setting you up for even better on all fronts of life going forward from here. Scorpio, friendships and group dynamics of all kinds are covered here. And this could be a time when you are putting a certain alliance, an acquaintance, a friendship, a group dynamic behind you in some way so that you can move towards more relationships and connections that have deeper meaning, deeper authenticity to you going forward from here. Those group dynamics must evolve. They must change. And for some, it's going to be, you know what, I am done. And that's okay with me. And it really is if it no longer feels like a fit. For all of that, though, this might also be a time as other connections grow more closer. They take on greater meaning. They reflect more of whom it is that you are next becoming. Sagittarius, career, social standing, life purpose, and your understanding of a higher, more loving vision for your life is covered here. This can be huge energies and how it is that it helps you to understand your ultimate direction, your purpose, whether or not you're on the career path. Now, if you are on the career path, this can be a boss exiting your life right now. But if that happens, it looks like you're able to come out at an advantage as a result, maybe taking on more responsibility. It could be you that realizes that you're on a path that you don't want to be on anymore. For others still, this is going to be more about purpose and the goals that you have for your life. And if ever there was energy that said you are on path towards achieving something that matters to you and success as you uniquely define it, I really think that this is an incredible omen for you doing just that. Capricorn, long distance travel, immigration, citizenship, higher learning, and legal matters are covered here as well. This is all about having a deeper understanding of your place in the world, literally or figuratively. If you're involved in any of these areas I just mentioned, this could be a time when a difficult situation comes to an end. It feels fortunate in some way, and that ending might come about somewhat quickly. But again, there's a lot of gratitude at this time for what you no longer have to deal with because that is done and you can move forward and be that much more open to the world than ever before. This is an energy of options and opportunities to step onto greater stages than you've known before. And that in turn helps you to feel more connected to the world than ever before as well. Aquarius, profound change, truth, transformation, regeneration, and wealth. Many Aquarians might have to pay attention to a financial matter like a loan or credit cards or benefits that you qualify for, but These energies are so fortunate that it does suggest conclusions can be reached in a way that feels fortunate to you, or in a way where you realize that perhaps a certain source has served its purpose. Perhaps you end up paying off a debt, and that feels like a very empowering thing for you to do for yourself. Whatever happens, it does look like you're happy for it. Now, for others, this might not play out financially. It has a lot more to do with your own personal sense of healthy transformation. You feeling like a more authentic version of you, understanding your truth and feeling that much more unabashed and fortunate to be able to live it. Pisces, partnerships and love is covered here. I think this is going to be a huge moment in the context of love for many a Piscean. This is a decisive moment. If you're open to love, chances are someone is going to be there to help you to understand where you are in love and how you feel about it. At the very least, I would say, but I think it likely is going to feel like more. Remember, Mercury is retrograde in your opposite sign. So what you think it is and what it ends up being might be really different, might end up better, but this is going to be an important turning point in love. Now, if you already have somebody, either this is energy that says you're locking things down, or you are realizing that you are ready to go a whole other way. This is a very all or nothing energy in that regard. However, Mercury is retrograde, which tells me breakups that happen might not stay broken up, but some truth is going to be revealed, and it's a game changer for you now.